how are you? How are you as we come together on this Wednesday? How are you? What's here? What's here? There's Sarah. Like for all of us, what's here? What's arising? Can you find like me? Sarah's face shows up, and so I notice an enthusiasm, like, yay, Sarah's here. But are there parts that are like, what are the other parts that are here? Are there parts that are like, what am I doing going on a Zoom for an hour and a half? I have things I need to be doing. Maybe there's a part like that. Maybe there's a part that Inga often describes. She likes to move and flow and like, "Oh, I don't really like just sitting in a chair for all this time." Maybe there's some discomfort in the body. What's here for each of us? What's the foreground? What are the voice? What do we hear as we're quiet? What do we hear? Well, where are we going to go? What are we going to do today? What are the parts? We call these parts just the thoughts, feelings, and sensations. We label them as parts. What are those for you? And can each of us find maybe three different things that are arising? Maybe it's a critic. Oh, I'm not fully present yet. I should be more present. That's just a voice. As we notice our parts, these arisings, what are they arising in? Is there, as Deborah was speaking of, the joy of the connectedness with others? Is there a connectedness here that it's arising in? Is it arising in what Raymond was pointing to, this compassion, this love? Or is it more what my my spiritual colleague Elizabeth will speak of? There's just a presence, a spaciousness, a being, maybe even an equanimity. What's it arising in? And as we're exploring this, is there a part that says something should be different? Oh, this should be more like Elizabeth's system, more of this peace, or more of the compassion of Raymond's system, or it should be quieter. Do we have a part like a spiritual achiever? And we just notice that. And what's it all arising in? And as far as what's arising in, is the beingness, the self that it's arising in, is it mostly your square? Or does it include us? Can you feel us? Can you feel this shared being, this being that goes beyond the boundaries of your square, of your home? Is there a connectedness? Can your parts feel that they're being welcomed, not just by what's here in your system, but by this larger space, by all this love and care that comes from us? What's that like for your parts? What's it like for your foreground to feel the background, for the parts to feel this beingness? Does something relax? Do your parts, do you relax? Or is there something that's not relaxed? Is there some agitation? What is it that keeps you from relaxing? Can you notice that part? Oh, but I need to think about this. I need to understand. I need to do it right. I need to plan my life today. And can that be welcomed? And just as you're being with this, as we begin to come back together, just noticing your parts and noticing the background. You've all heard this before, and I'll just do my housekeeping real quick. And I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm a mediator. So this isn't the IFS of psychotherapy. Instead, I understand it as friends and colleagues coming together to explore together, to receive the gifts of all of us. Everyone is good is for being responsible for their own journeys today. If I could get a thumbs up from you, please. And then the other thing, I'm supposed to do both of these, is that I've always had this being recorded, but only my image will ever be shared, only my square. However, the audio that you share today might be shared because I often make these available for others through online. And just as we go, if there's ever anything you're uncomfortable with speaking one's being recorded, just let me know, and I can make you a co-host, and you can stop the recording at any time. Or at the end, you discover that you said something that, whoa, I don't want anybody to hear that. Just let me know, and I can delete it. So if everybody's good, let me know at the end of the meeting. If everybody's good with this, if I could get a thumbs up from you, please, that this might be shared. Great. So how are we? What's here? What's going on? We had Deborah share something, Raymond share something. What's coming up for you as we did that short dive, and just what's here? Who wants to go first? What's bubbling? Hello, everybody. Okay, then I'm going to say something then. Then I will pause again because there's something Raymond shared that touched something here about the humanity of it all and the compassion. Uh, I watched in the United States, we had a big presidential debate last night between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And it represented some extreme positions, some different viewpoints. And it was really something to be with that. And I'm going to suggest it's a game similar to what we do here. As we are here and we are really welcoming each other's parts, and we have this compassion to include. And this might be a trigger for some people here when they think about in the United States, when they think about these candidates, one of them they might love and the other they might not. But it's very similar to what we're doing here. And at some point, I'd love to do one on politics to play the same game we're playing here, where we it's like we don't want to miss anything. We don't want to miss the aliveness that comes from Raymond, that comes from Vendor, that comes from Deborah, the parts. Even if they have parts that say, I really don't like people from Scotland. It's like Raymond doesn't want to miss that. There's like a curiosity. Like, what's that? You don't like people from Scotland. And it's like you want to know that. There's a curiosity of welcoming the humanity and opening to it. And it becomes fascinating because we have parts that are like, what do you mean? She doesn't like me? She doesn't like Scottish people. What's wrong? We have parts that will do that, right? We have protector parts. And it's such a good game as we notice our protector parts. And we're kind of playing that game here as we open to each other and including as if they're not lines between our boxes, but as if we're on one big stage and everything that's shared. Oh, more parts that get to be included. And it was one hell of a workout for me last night because that's what I tried to do with that political debate. Because in America, you've got at least 30% of this country that feels earnestly enthusiastic about each of those candidates. And so they're representing a lot of values, a lot of things that people care about. And to be able to really open up to all of that, it was really something. All right, back to you guys. What do we got?
Now I've got something bubbling.
Yay!
Just this. I have a product that is really, really sad and scared. And at the same time, so I'm going to just share a little bit about what it's about in a relationship with someone very close, but not like a romantic relationship, but a really good friend, supporting each other, doing some IFS work. And it seems like there has been a lot of times when things just didn't work. And a part of me was very like, I need this person, I need this person. I can't be without him, I just cannot. And now it seems like it might come to an end, it's there's a sense of I don't want to be treated like this. And it feels very peaceful, So there is the sadness and there's fear and there's also some anger. And at the same time, everything's so okay. There's a deep sense of I know that I'm okay no matter what. It hurts, it's sad, um, but I'm okay. And it's kind of a paradox. It's not an either or. I'm totally okay while there is sadness, and um, there's almost, I think I talked about this before, there's almost a sweetness in this, you know.
Wow, Inga. For all of us, as we hear Inga describe this, what meets it? What's the experience as she shares? Do we notice that there's a sense of, is there a welcoming of these parts of Inga? But the sense of this close friend, the sense of, oh, the part that's like sad that this might be losing this connectedness, this relationship. We hear that. There a welcoming of that. Can we see the innocence? Can we appreciate that part? Can we find endearment for that part in Inga? And then this part that's angry that this is happening. This shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. This person perhaps should be different. They shouldn't be this. They shouldn't have taken it to this place where I'm going to lose the friendship. As we hear that, do you also have parts that come up in response? Do you have parts that might be therapy parts that want to help? Like, what comes up in you when we hear this in Inga? Is there a welcoming? Is there an endearment? Is there an appreciation as we notice these parts of her? And then what's it like when she says, but in the midst of that, there's still, I'm so okay, that there's an okayness, even when there are parts that are angry and sad and that want it a different way, that don't want the relationship to end, that there's still an okayness. Like, what about that for us? Can we touch that? She says even more. She says with that okayness, I know I'm okay no matter what. This is sometimes in circles, they call this like a causeless okayness. It's just not conditioned on experience. What's most like that in you? This that Inga speaks of, this okayness no matter what. And if you're not finding it or touching it, we have the gift of Inga being here. You can even like a tuning fork, like a key on the piano. You could see if you can even tune into this causeless okayness that she's speaking of, and maybe we can even have as a field, see if we can touch that together, and help as we get to know this okayness that's here no matter what. What's most like that in your system? And then as we're aware of Inga's parts, the ones that are this anger and the sadness about what's happening, and she wants it to be different. As we feel it, what's your version of it? As you resonate with sadness and anger, can you find a part that, oh, I know that sadness and anger, I have a part just like that. Can you notice that part? And also the sense of this so okay no matter what. And where do you find that? How do you see this? How are you able to be aware of all of this okayness, and also the sadness and anger? And where do you find the sadness and anger? Where do they show up? Is sadness like in your belly and anger in your mind or in your throat or in front of you? Where do you find it, Inga? How do you make sense of this? How does it play? Where's this okayness and where's the sadness and anger and wanting things to be different?
Well, the okayness just is, you know, um, just everything. And it also cares, you know, there's a deep care, not just for my parts, but also for this friend's, this friend, you know. And I have to say that what we're doing here, it really makes a difference, you know, that because my parts thought this person's so special and I need this person to get certain whatever, like attention and connection, and now parts are really recognizing, no, it's all already here. There's care inside, and not just inside, but it's all already here. And they're also noticing that, I don't know if that makes sense, but there are no special people, and everybody is
Uh,
special.
well, well, let's go with that for a minute. Let's go with that. The first thing is that there's a deep care that's here. Like as we all hear that, this is a deep care. And for all of us, do we know care that comes from parts, that care come from doing, that are circumstantial care? And then there's the care, the capital C care, that comes from the beingness, that comes from self, that's just here. What's most like care, capital C care for all of us? And then what Inga's pointing to, like the parts, like the sad part and the angry part, they can be focused on this particular person. I really want this person to, I really want this from this person, right? And then Inga's saying, wait a minute, like for the sadness and care, what is it that is truly being longed for from the parts? That poke is like, this person should not do this, or this part, I really want them to change so that we can have this. And so, what is it that's being longed for truly from that person that's not specific to that person? What is being longed for in your system where we make it specific to them, but we go deeper than that? What is the longing in our system with the sadness and the anger for all of us? What's really being longed for? Is it peace? Is it connectedness? Is it to be seen? Is it is it to be accepted? Is it love? Is it play? Sarah yesterday was talking all about play, and Sarah, as I'm thinking about this, will you send me an email so that I have your address so I can send something back to you, please? Um, Play, like what is it that we're longing for? What are these parts longing for? It's from a specific other person, and maybe you can find this as well in your life when there's a person that you're really wanting something from. What is it that's being longed for? Is it peace, connectedness, a sense of nurture? What do you find? What is it in your system, Inga, that is wanted? What is it that's truly wanted?
So the angry part wants to be seen and respected and acknowledged and really validated. And the sad part wants more than anything wants connection. It wants love. It wants safety. It Yeah, and there's also something about what you said, playfulness, humor. Just a person that I also can love. We can just have fun at times.
Beautiful. So just for all of us, what's your version of it? That maybe there's a person in our lives that we want more from, we want something different from, that causes sadness for us, just like Inga's system. This is for all of us, what she's facilitating. What is it that we're really wanting from that person? We might be like, oh, I want my relationship to be different from with that person. I'm wanting it to be different. I'm wanting it to be different. Then what are we really longing for? And Inga described when sadness comes up, it's really longing for connection, for love, for safety, playful, humor, fun. What is it that your parts are longing for? And Inga says, when anger comes up, what about anger? We all find this when anger comes up towards somebody, maybe someone we care about. When anger comes up in us, what's being longed for in Inga is a sense of to be seen, to be respected, to be acknowledged, to be validated. And when we hear these things, like what beautiful needs. Like, do we not fall in love with Inga's anger? Like when if Inga erupts in anger, it's like, I don't like Scottish people. Why are you here, Raymond? It's like, but it's like whatever. It's like the anger, but beneath it, we hear this to be seen, to be acknowledged.
No, Sid. I mean, I have parts that are scared of the anger because they are scared it's going to destroy just everything. Because that's what the anger says, I'm just going to destroy everything.
Yes.
And but it is like a flashlight, a lighthouse saying, "Hey, watch here. Something is. I want you to look here."
Yes, yes. And so that, can we say that just the sacredness of this anger? I want to, hey, what about this? This is important. I want to be seen, respected, acknowledged, valued. Are we able to do that when anger comes up for us? When our anger comes up? Of course, I bet we all can relate to that part of Inga's that's scared. Another part that comes up is like, whoa, don't go there. This is going to destroy everything. This is going to be really costly. We're going to regret this. Like, there's a part that'll come up and say that. But then the gift of the anger, what is the gift of your anger? See if you can see it. What's the gift of your anger? Can we see the innocence in our anger? And what's the gift of it? Inga's, hey, don't forget me. Put the light here. I want to be seen, respected, acknowledged, validated. What are your words beneath your anger? Let's just pause for just a moment and go around real quick, and maybe each of us could give one word for what's beneath the anger. I'm just gonna, Rossi, what do you have? What would your longing word be?
Honored, reciprocated with honored.
Thank you. I'm just gonna kind of go around in the way next to my this order here. Sarah, what you got?
There's usually pain and hurt beneath it.
And what's being longed for? What's wanted? Like the validated, to be honored. What's your word for that?
Just to be fully released, to be felt and released.
Release. To be felt, released. Thank you. Thank you. Nicole, what's yours?
To be seen.
Seen. Thank you. Raymond.
Sorry. Yeah. When I'm angry, I think the lighthouse analogy is a good one. I'm really looking for protection, safety,
Nice.
as Inga said.
Beautiful. Thank you. Protection, safety. Elizabeth.
Underneath anger could be wanting to be really listened to, like they're actively interested listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Vendor.
Hurt underneath my anger, hurt and sadness, and need for safety and connection.
Safety and connection. Thank you. And lastly, Deborah.
Yeah, it's behind the anger's like have space, feel seen and safe, and no pressure, just be accepted.
Beautiful. Be seen, space, accepted. So before we go back to Inga, she kind of, well, she'll tie this all together. Oh, Raymond, sorry.
You missed Nicole. You didn't ask Nicole.
Oh, thank you, Raymond, but he did.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Yeah.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I appreciate it. Also twice.
I must have disappeared for 5 seconds.
It happens.
What was yours, Nicole? Just so that Raymond got it. I forgot what you said.
To be seen.
To be seen.
Mhm.
Just for all of us. And don't you love how Raymond was really keeping up? I was like, I want to get it from everybody. I want to get everybody here. We don't want to miss this. And then, but what about that? Like, as we hear everybody's when we hear our anger, like, can we listen? Can we pierce in and really hear what that longing is when the anger comes up and we have the part that says, oh no, don't do this. This is bad. This is going to get us in trouble. We got that part, but at the same time, can we hear what the longing is? And then once we can do it in ourselves, like how are we with doing it with others? When our partner is angry at us, when our friends are angry at us, when our child is angry at us, to be able to hear the dearness in that, the longing that's beneath it. Inga, anything to bring this all together? What you shared? Any final thoughts?
Well, maybe just real quick. So my angry part is often like, I mean, I have an image of a young girl, maybe 10 years old or so, with an axe, and she wants to destroy everything, like the furniture and the whole house and everything. And often it's this, at a certain point, she just breaks down and just says, oh, you know what I really want is a hug. I don't want to do this, but yeah. Yeah, there's a dearness to it. That's what I want to say, and it feels like, and also a care even within this part, showing up for me and saying, well, I really, it's really important to be angry here.
Yeah. So how about that one? Like Inga just pushed it all the way, right? In giving this example of anger of like a 10-year-old that just wants to destroy everything. Right. And it would be really easy for us because we've been around adults that are like that. When they get so desperate, it's just, there's such a desperation. And like the sadness is if we were with Inga's 10-year-old who just wanted to destroy everything, and maybe the 10-year-old even did, maybe it broke things. It broke things. It was like, no, and it broke things and hurt people. Wouldn't it be sad if we weren't able to stay with that 10-year-old enough to hear what it was really wanting, that her 10-year-old was really wanting the hug? This is hard. I'm sure it's really hard for Inga too when that 10-year-old comes up and just wants to destroy everything. It's probably really scary to be around that, but to be able to pierce and hear what it's really looking for. All right, before we go to what the next, did you have something else, Inga?
Oh, thank you, Sid. Thank you very much.
When we go to the next featured person in our group, anything bubbling for anybody about this, about what Inga shared about anger that you'd like to share first? Anything coming? Yeah, Nicole.
Well, this partly relates to what Inga was talking about with the anger, and also Raymond's comment, because I realized so often I come into groups and I feel disconnected, and I just can't bridge that gap to feel connected. I just have such a hard time. But when someone reaches out to me, like Raymond acknowledged my presence, it was like, I just felt so connected. And that's what I need sometimes, just somebody to reach out. So I just wanted to say that. So it's not so much anger, it's just the sadness that I can't make that connection sometimes. Anyways, that's what's coming up for me.
Beautiful. So for all of us, as we hear this from Nicole, can we relate to the parts of us that feel disconnected, that might feel lonely, disconnected, alone? Find those parts, right? The sweetness of those parts that feel alone, even with our loved ones or with friends, and we can the parts that still feel that, right? And then Nicole, we could like the tears that came for like the being touched by Raymond, being touched by the connectedness that was being felt, that being included, belonging, care. Like, can we find that in parts that can feel, maybe they can even feel it right now, this connectedness, this sense of being welcomed. That there are 8 of us that are so glad you're here and that your parts are here, that all of your parts are here. Maybe they can't hear that, maybe they don't believe it, but that's part of the game that we're playing here, is like really being the space of all of us welcoming everything that arises in each other, to give each other that experience of being celebrated and welcomed and cared for, that evoked tears in Nicole when it came from Raymond. Do we have parts that are yearning for that? that are yearning for that to be seen, to be accepted, to belong, to be cared for, to be celebrated? Do we have parts like, last thing, like, do you have any parts? Like, when I ask that question, do any parts raise their hand? Like, if you notice, if you ask that question to your system, like you're on a PA announcement system for the whole high school, going to every room of you, going through your whole system, and it's like, are there parts that just really want to be seen, accepted, celebrated, connected with, honored, appreciated? Like, do you have parts that raise their hands? Like, yes, me. And then, like, which parts were able to feel some of that right now? To feel that from you and to feel that from us and feel that from Raymond. Which parts can feel that? And what's that like for them to feel that? Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole. That's who wants to go next? Elizabeth.
So, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I want to say that thank you for your authenticity, like what you just shared, because I feel like as the facilitator, the gift is like your authenticity sets the tone for like, yeah, we're here to be authentic, and um, you're showing that or exemplifying that, or and it's priceless. And I want to thank you for being like so authentic. That's the biggest gift anybody can give me or model for me. The modeling of authenticity. And everyone else here, a lot of authenticity, just like, it's rocks. And I really want to go back to a little bit earlier with to thank Nicole for what she shared. That touched me so deeply because I feel like I project it was something that I experience as well, but someone put it to words like uh, that when for whatever reason I can't connect, but then someone reaches out to me and there's the heart opening or the tearing, or that was very moving for me. The authenticity, the vulnerability, and like, oh yeah, like it was just like I wanted to thank Nicole, and I so related to that experience. It's just important for me to say that. And yeah, I didn't hear you use the words celebrating parts today. If you did, I missed it. But I do come here to be refreshed in that spirit of, oh, we're celebrating parts, because outside of this group, I haven't heard that anywhere. If it's out there, I don't know where people bring that spirit, but bringing that spirit of, oh, we're celebrating parts, we're embracing and welcoming. But when you bring in that word for me, celebration, and like I get refreshed and I leave out of the group and celebration is on my radar, it really makes life less suffery. It's like it's that transition from like, okay, here's another part we're companioning to, oh, celebrating. It brings in a really fresh energy. And life is more fun that way. So you didn't say it, so I'll celebrating parts, having that attitude of mind of celebrating parts.
What's that like for your parts, Elizabeth, when they feel that there's a sense of beyond welcoming, there's a celebration of them?
I don't even know if I feel it in my parts, but it charges up self and presence. Like it's like putting a charger in the wall and charging it up. It charges up self and presence. And then from self and presence, it's a more joyful, fun spirit to bring to parts awareness. It powers up self and presence for sure. Like, oh, we're celebrating. It's even more than embracing or welcoming, which are also great. it's just this priceless spirit of mine that's like a real suffering ender or something.
Mhm. Thank you. What's that like for all of us as we, and Elizabeth, the sense of celebrating our parts in that spaciousness of celebrating our parts, like something there's an unblendedness in that, right? As we're celebrating our parts, we're celebrating them, and it's inclusive. That there's a sense for her of charging up self and presence. What about for you? What charges up self and presence? Is it a celebrating? Is it an awareness of, a welcoming? Any final words on this, Elizabeth? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Um, I to j- to be authentic, I do have a part that gets really worried about um, when there's a larger group and there's a I've this part has a projection that some people feel permission to take more time. I don't feel that, but then there's a part that, and this is within me. This is a parts that don't feel permission to take more time, and then it's like not fair that other people that part projects it's not other people feel permission to take more time. Um,
Yes.
and that's all okay within me. And that's not saying anything about anybody in this group because I love everything everyone has been so.
So with that part, Elizabeth, that's like, wait a minute. If we want everybody to have time, what is it longing for? What's that one longing for? Like, and I want to have time. What's it longing for?
It's a great question. It feels like there could be more top of my head. Like it wants things to be fair. Like, wait, that's not fair. And I don't want
And
someone to
by
have a
and
little
and
bit
by
and someone to have more.
and by and having that when things are fair, what does it get? What do you get from that? Because we're all exploring
Right,
this together. When things are
right,
fair, what is that we find?
right. And you're asking me NVC kind of what's the need, right? NVC
What's
kind
yeah,
of,
what's the longing beneath it? What's it really wanting? If there's fairness, then I have what?
then I'm not ripped off or something.
And if you're not ripped off, what do you have? For all of us, see if we can all find this and stay with this.
I get a slice of the pie that's equal to everybody.
And when you get that slice of the pie that's equal to everybody, what do you get? What do you find? What's here?
I want to say fairness, but I don't even know. I don't
Yeah. So if
have
there's
a sense.
fairness, what do you find? What do you find? Is there peace? Is there okayness? Is there connectedness? Is there relief? Is there flow? What do you get? What do you get from that? What is it that's being longed for? Connection. Does it allow you to be connection? Does it allow peace? What does it allow?
There's definitely something there, and I don't know what it is. So I don't want to go up to my head and make up an answer because
Hmm.
you're pointing at something that's really, I really there in me, and
Yeah.
uh, maybe just that's my koan for now.
Okay. This the koan. Like, what is it that's really being longed for here? And just
Yeah,
for all of us, when we have, I want it to be different. I want something to be different. And what is, like, what's truly being longed for? Because this is how we get to what Inga pointed to for us. Inga took us into this place of there's okayness here. And regardless, there's okayness here. And what we're looking for when we have a part that wants something to be different than it is, it's like, what's it really longing for? And if we can find what's longing for peace, for flow, for ease, for relief, for okayness, and then we really go in like, well, what's most like that which is here? This is when it goes really deep, this sense of finding that home is here and okayness is here. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm aware that there's about 18 minutes left, and we
Yes,
have
thank
not,
you.
we've got Deborah and Nicole and Sarah and Vinder. And so let's do our very best. Who wants to go next? Sarah, you got this expression on your face. I got it. I'm so curious. What's going on?
Yeah, thank you, Sid. Yeah, I really resonated with what Elizabeth shared. And yes, like I have parts that I also wanted to agree and say like, oh, thank you so much for being authentic and for
Yes.
sharing with us. And I remembered about
Hey, wait, Sarah, can I pause? Can I just pause for just a moment? As we're hearing that, I'm wanting to celebrate those of us who had life moving in them, the enthusiasm that was there, and the speaking and sharing, and just wanting us to see if we can also find like such a depth of enjoyment in the love that was shared here, the vulnerability that was shared, because there was a choice here as our group facilitators. Like, God, this is the most beautiful thing. We don't want to miss anything that Rossi was sharing. We don't want to miss anything that Inga was sharing. We don't want to miss anything that Raymond was sharing. It was so beautiful and delicious, and I just want to see if the same time, if everybody can find the deliciousness of all of that they shared. And we might also have a part that's like, but what about me? So back to you, Sarah.
yes, yeah, I remembered um, what we agreed on yesterday that we would let you share with us as well. And then I noticed like, oh, you're already doing that. You did share a few things with us. So there was that, and it really added so much richness to the group. And I like there's a part of me that really agrees with what Elizabeth was sharing about how you set the tone for the group. So everybody feels like, oh, they can be authentic and they can be vulnerable too. So I really appreciate that, Sid. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And there was a part of me as well that was feeling like activated by um, the sense of anger. And earlier, when I listened to it, it wanted to be felt and released. And I really wanted to like ponder on that, the feeling of release. Oh, what does that mean? And when I like dug deeper into my system, I found um, it's the exiles in the basement. They want to be released. So they express in anger. Like whenever I'm angry about something, there's an exile that wants to be felt, wants to be released. So it makes sense to me now that, oh, where that release came from. And and I just went deeper into it, and I felt the loneliness of Nicole, and also the anger that Inga shared about the 10-year-old. And I realized, oh, I must have these exiles in the basement and they want to be released. That's why there's that sense of anger. And now it makes sense. And I tried to be with them, I tried to release them. So I felt my system really getting activated. And there was a sense of sadness and unsafety when Rossi was sharing. And I connected to these parts, like the parts that don't feel safe. And I felt like, oh, these are parts stuck in the basement. And even if I open the gate for them, they're not going to come out because they don't feel safe out there. They need to be in the basement. And it really brought up a lot of sadness. And I just had to be with these parts and just make them feel safer. Um, and it really reminded me of how scared animals, how they hide in dark corners and under furniture or places, like that, like small kittens and things like that. And how even if the cage is open or the door is open, they won't come out because they feel safer in the dark. And I feel like, oh, these little exiles must be feeling that way, like they don't feel safe out there, even if the door is open. Even if I want to release them, I need to be there for them until they feel safe to come out. And just have to be patient. And so there was a sense of that feeling of, oh, I want to be with my safe parts and make them feel safe. And it could take time, it needs some patience, but we will get there someday, you know, like it just needs time. Um, and that brought me back to, oh, um, even the parts of Rossi that didn't feel safe to come out. Um, and there was a sense of appreciation of how you wanted to, um, you really tried your best to make these parts feel safe to come out, but they wouldn't, and that's okay. Um, and how you shared about your the part that was judging you for handling the situation. Um, yeah, there's a part of me that wanted to comfort that part that, oh, you did okay, you tried your best to make that part feel safe to come out of the basement, but hey, there are some parts of us that are like small kittens in the basement. They're not going to come out. They need time, they need patience, and even if we're loving and caring, it just takes some time, and that's okay. um, and yeah, and so this was really like, it brought up a lot in my system today. It was really interesting. um, and I also don't want to take up all of the time left, so this is what I had to share for today.
Wow. About that basement, about that animals, cats, cat going into the corner, the dark corner. And even if the door is open, it's like there's safer there. It's safe. The sense that Sarah speaks of is just patience. The system just wants to love them, just wants to love the cat in the dark corner, the parts that are in the basement that aren't ready to come up yet. They're not ready to come, and there's just love here. There's being with it, and she even said my system felt a little activated as I wanted to be with them and get close. It got a little activated from these exiles in the basement. We might notice that, and then she describes the patience, just the patience, just like the cat in the corner, the dark corner. When it feels safe, will come out. That we are the space of patience, love, acceptance, welcoming, play. This gets to be here for them. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, everyone.
Deborah, we have not heard much from you, and I just don't want us to miss out on that.
Thank you. Wow. It's the second time I've been to one of these meetings, and I've just really, really appreciated being with everybody, and the authenticity of for me, I spend a lot of time on my own, and when I'm with others, I realize I work really hard. Like, oh, I've got to jump in here, or so I can get many parts can get quite activated, and I've really gone through a lot. I feel like, oh, I feel a bit unsafe, and then it's like, oh, it's okay. And I've found it's been a real gift to be able to be in a space with others and feel lots of things going on, and oh, I'm resonating with a lot. As part of me is very empathic. It's like, oh, I feel resonates with a lot of when people speak. I yeah, find that I really can blend or be in, really feel it, and thank you for being invited in to speak at the end here, because that feels really good to be able to be in the group like all the parts and my own parts to be seen. And saying that, I feel a tenderness in me being here. Thank you.
For your parts to be seen, for you to be fully included, fully welcomed, those parts to be seen that spend so much time by yourself, and then there's just this being seen. And then you describe, there's so much here. There's kind of this an empath that's here, being with everyone, being with all of this, and being with, and then your parts that might not feel safe, and parts that get triggered along the way. Just any final words on what's it like to have all of that happening in this hour and a half, and holding all of that, being the space for all of this happening inside of you.
So there's a part that's rediscovering, because I feel like there's a very young part that was like, oh, it's a lot going on. And to be able to drop that a little bit and be present, like, oh, it's all okay. There was a part of me going, oh, it's okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was feeling that, getting in touch with this safe part in myself that's okay to be. I noticed part of me was falling asleep at certain times, which is a part of me that takes myself off, which is a new part I'm getting to know. And I feel quite, I've come back. I'm on, fully present.
Thank you. Yes. I love that, Deborah. I love the part that didn't feel safe, maybe a young part that didn't feel safe, or that it was too much. We all can relate to that, right? This has been a lot today. It's been so rich. And just parts of us like, well, too much. I'm exhausted. God, we really have 5 more minutes. I'm ready to go. And it's like for some of us just to notice what's here. And then Deborah finds this okayness in the midst of that, what Inga was pointing to earlier, this like causeless okayness. It's so okay, this beingness. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, let's kind of quickly get to Nicole and Vendor. Nicole, how's it going? How's it going now for you?
I'm doing good, Sid. I feel like I've done my work. So thank you, everyone. This has been great. And I was not going to come this morning. I'm so glad I did.
Is there anything else there that would like to be shared, as we're all here and all your parts are welcome, and all your parts are welcomed. All of you are welcomed.
Yeah, as Elizabeth said, it's to celebrate all the parts is just amazing. It's not something we're taught as we're growing up for the most part, I don't think. And to have that, to recognize that as a truth is really profound. So thank you, Sid, and thank you, everyone.
Wow. Thank you, Nicole. What's it like to have all of our parts welcomed, even if your system can't welcome them all right now, but the sense of the space that we're in is welcoming and celebrating all of you, just like Elizabeth pointed to, the celebration of all of you. What's that like for you? Vendor, you get to be our finale today. How's it going there? Oops, you're muted. And while you're muted, just make a note to Rossi. If you'd like, I have some time afterwards. If you'd like to hang out a little bit, great. Vendor, tell me, how's it going there?
First of all, I want to be grateful for the space that you've created for us and the authenticity as well as the vulnerability everyone shared and everyone's presence. There were a lot of tears coming up. It was more of a somatic experience today. And there's an okayness to that. Even I'm feeling a little bit of stuckness in between the chest and the solar plexus, solar plex area. I think a lot to do with my vulnerability. I have a really hard time showing that vulnerability when I'm going through my human experience, especially the anger part. and the sadness and hurt part. Those are, but I'm okay with those. This parts party been good, and just the grateful, I'm being so grateful for this. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. We all with Vinder on this when she says when for her sadness, her hurt and her anger part, those can be difficult. There can be a difficulty in being with those. The sadness, hurt, and anger parts. We all know this. Resonance for all of us. And a parts party, like, yeah, I love the parts party, but then some of them are a little like the sadness, the anger, and hurt. It's a little, sometimes it can be difficult to celebrate, to welcome, to be close to those. Then intimacy, it can trigger other parts, right? It can trigger other parts. We have a minute left. Anything bubbling? Then I'd like to share that. Like for me, this is it's so painful that we only have an hour and a half because it's like in that way, it's just like, oh my, I mean, some of you guys don't know Elizabeth like I do. It's just like we could have just so much we just don't like what I feel like we missed out on and not having more time there or Sarah, like she was just getting started. She could have rolled for another 10 minutes nonstop talking about her system. It was like, and it's like, and I'm sure with Vinder as well, like we don't the anger, the sadness and hurt she's speaking of. Like, weren't you like me? Like, God, we want to know more about these parts and like what's there. It's just and then where Deborah went with just all of this happening and being the space for all of it. It's just there's all of that, all of this richness. And I just want you to know that any part in you that's like, God, I wish I had more time to talk. I join you in that. Like I would have liked that too. And it's and at the same time, I don't think I would have changed anything about today. Not a thing about it. Just I loved how it went. It's so exquisite in what we did. And so thank you all. And there's always, I'll just add this at the end. There's always this IFS non-dual community Facebook group that a lot of us are active on, and you can join us anytime. I host that with this Laura Petraeus, and so thank you so much for, some of you said something about my authenticity and how that helped. And I just want to put a little mirror up for a moment and see if we can all receive this about our own authenticity today and how our own authenticity co-created this exquisite space that we were in. Thank you all. Come back again. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.